Tonight, let me whisper you the ancient legend of a forest that holds more secrets than stars in the night sky. Welcome, dear listener, wherever you may be, perhaps in a quiet room in Europe, a cozy corner in Asia, a gentle night in the Americas, or a calm morning in Oceania. Close your eyes, breathe slowly, and let the canopy of the Amazon wrap you in its endless green veil. The Amazon rainforest stretches farther than the eye can imagine, covering millions of square kilometers. From above, it appears as a boundless ocean of trees, rippling in shades of emerald. But what lies beneath this dense canopy is not just wilderness. It is a hidden world, one that has been whispering its story for centuries. For much of history, travellers believed the forest was empty, untamed, a place too wild for great civilizations. They described it as hostile, where only scattered tribes survived. Yet, like a book with pages sealed shut, the Amazon has been patiently waiting for curious hands to uncover the truth written beneath its leaves. Imagine stepping into this world. The air is heavy with moisture, the ground soft with layers of fallen leaves. Above, sunlight filters through tangled branches like golden threads, weaving shadows that dance on the forest floor. You are surrounded by sound, chirping insects, distant bird calls, and the gentle rhythm of unseen streams. But beneath these familiar sounds, there is a silence that carries weight, the silence of forgotten footsteps, of marketplaces once alive, of rituals long abandoned. Every root and vine seems to guard a secret, every winding river seems to hum a memory. The canopy is not only nature's shield, it is history's curtain. Archaeologists once thought the Amazon was incapable of sustaining large societies. Its soil, thin and fragile, seemed to betray the possibility of farming. But whispers in the earth told a different story. The forest had been shaped, nurtured, and engineered by human hands long before explorers ever set foot here. Beneath the canopy, earthworks emerged, geometric shapes carved into the ground, ditches too precise to be random, and mounds aligned with the stars. These were not scars of chance, they were deliberate marks of a civilization that once flourished under the shadow of trees. Picture vast clearings, once alive with people, now cloaked in vines. Imagine the glow of fires, the hum of conversation, the beating of drums echoing through the night. What appears today as untouched jungle was in truth a landscape carefully crafted to support life on a grand scale. And yet the forest is patient. It does not reveal its secrets all at once. Like a storyteller, it releases fragments slowly. A shard of pottery here, a trace of dark soil there. Each clue reminds us that the canopy's veil is not meant to hide forever, but to protect until the world is ready to listen. Think of the canopy as a guardian. Its dense leaves shelter the ruins from storms. Its roots hold fragile structures in place, and its rivers flow quietly, preserving traces of civilizations that once thrived. The forest has not erased them. It has embraced them, wrapping them gently in its arms. At night, under the moon's glow, the forest takes on an even more mysterious presence. Mist rises from the ground like breath from the earth, curling around trunks and branches. To walk here feels like stepping into another realm, one where the boundaries of time blur and echoes of the past whisper in the wind. Legends from local tribes tell of great ancestors, builders of earth and sky. Their stories speak of spirits who shaped rivers and carved patterns into the soil. These tales, once dismissed as myth, now align with the evidence slowly being uncovered by science. And so, the canopy stands both as a cover and as a mirror. It conceals what was lost, yet it reflects the ingenuity of those who lived here. To listen to the forest is to hear the pulse of human history beating beneath the sound of cicadas and frogs. Step closer and notice the details, the patterns in the soil, the unusual richness of dark earth patches, the alignment of clearings with the stars above. These are not random. They are signatures etched carefully by people who understood the land in ways modern eyes are only beginning to rediscover. The canopy's veil is not silence. It is a soft hum, a lullaby carried by rivers and rustling leaves. It invites us not to conquer, but to listen, not to strip away, but to observe gently, with patience and awe, as one would lean closer to hear the final notes of a fading song. Close your eyes and imagine drifting along a narrow Amazonian river at dusk. The water reflects streaks of orange and purple sky, while the trees arch above like cathedral walls. Beneath their shelter, you feel not alone, but accompanied by memories, by history, by those who once lived here. Every branch overhead, every vine wrapping around ancient trunks is part of a tapestry woven over thousands of years. The forest is not just alive, it is remembering. Each root holds the memory of footsteps. Each bird call echoes songs once sung by human voices. The idea of the untouched Amazon is fading. Instead, the forest is revealing itself as a partner to humanity, shaped by those who knew how to work with it, not against it. And in this partnership, we find a lesson still relevant today: to live in balance with the rhythms of the earth. The canopy may appear endless, but it is full of hidden passages. Trails covered by moss, walls hidden by vines, ancient roads now softened into the earth. Walking here is to step into a story that unfolds not in pages, but in roots and rivers. Listen closely. The rustling leaves might remind you of whispers, voices carried from centuries past. They speak of resilience, of creativity, of communities who thrived where others thought survival impossible. The canopy is not silent. It is softly telling us, we were here. The veil of green stretches across countries and cultures, linking lives past and present. From the Andes to the Atlantic, rivers carry the same message. Civilizations once rose here, and though they fell silent, their legacy lingers like seeds waiting for the right season to bloom again. The deeper you look, the more the forest transforms. What seems like ordinary jungle is revealed as designed space, once mapped, measured, and understood by those who called it home. The canopy hides cities, but it cannot erase memory. Even now, scientists are uncovering more beneath the trees using technology that peers through the green veil. Each discovery is like pulling back another layer of the canopy, letting us glimpse the grand story of humanity and nature intertwined. And so, as you drift toward rest tonight, let the image of the canopy wrap around you, not as a wall, but as a shelter. Imagine it as a soft blanket, layered with history, with secrets, and with dreams of those who came before us. The canopy's veil is more than leaves and branches. It is a reminder that history is not always written in stone. Sometimes it grows, it breathes, it hides, and it waits. Tonight, as you fall into sleep, may you carry with you the comfort of knowing that even in silence, the past continues to whisper. For centuries, the Amazon was seen as a place too wild, too untamed to host great civilizations. Explorers described endless forests, stretching without borders, a realm of tangled vines and rushing rivers. Beautiful, yes, but inhospitable. To them, it was a world where only small groups of people could survive, scattered and fragile. This image was powerful and enduring. For generations, scholars repeated it, painting the Amazon as a green desert, a paradox, abundant in trees, water and life, yet poor in soil, too fragile for agriculture, too unstable for the growth of lasting settlements. To outsiders, it seemed almost impossible. European accounts from the 16th century spoke of dense forests that swallowed everything whole. They told of hardships, disease, and unbearable heat. Such stories convinced many that no advanced society could have lived here, for the forest itself appeared to resist human presence. The belief was reinforced by the soil. When examined, much of the earth appeared thin and nutrient-poor. Crops failed quickly without constant renewal. This seemed to prove the theory: no grand fields, no cities, no empires could flourish in such unforgiving ground. But human history often hides in plain sight. The Amazon was never empty. It was alive with people, with trade, with culture. The only emptiness lay in the assumptions of those who arrived later, looking but not seeing, listening but not hearing the forest's quiet testimony. Archaeological evidence now challenges that old vision. Beneath layers of soil, beneath the thick roots of towering trees, traces of roads, canals, and settlements appear. They tell us of communities not small or isolated, but organized and thriving across vast distances. When explorers wrote of scattered tribes, they may have glimpsed only what remained after collapse. Disease and conquest had already erased much by the time outsiders first laid eyes on the forest. What they witnessed was not the height of civilization, but its echo. Consider this: the Amazon is larger than Western Europe. Within such immensity, how likely is it that people lived only as isolated families? The evidence suggests otherwise. Cooperation, planning, and shared knowledge were essential to life beneath the canopy. The myth of emptiness also reflected the lens of its tellers. Europeans measured societies by stone temples, metal tools, and written language. When they saw none of these in the Amazon, they concluded there was little to value. Yet value takes many forms. Not all was visible to foreign eyes. The forest itself became the architecture. Instead of carving stone, people carved landscapes. They shaped soil, directed rivers, and designed fields that blended into nature rather than rose above it. Their legacy was not in monuments of stone, but in living systems. For centuries, this difference was mistaken for absence. Because the forest reclaimed everything quickly, cities disappeared beneath vines and trees within decades. Outsiders, returning later, saw only wilderness, not the silent foundations hidden below. The phrase, "a world once thought empty," is both truth and illusion. It is true that outsiders thought it empty, but it is illusion because it never was. Human presence is written everywhere, if only one knows where to look. Even early explorers, if listened to carefully, describe glimpses of great settlements. In 1542, Friar Gaspar de Carvajal wrote of villages stretching for miles along the riverbanks, filled with people. His account was dismissed for centuries as fantasy, until modern research revived it. These early testimonies, once doubted, now align with science. Satellite imaging, soil analysis, and laser scans reveal exactly what Carvajal may have seen. Clusters of communities linked by causeways and waterways, vibrant hubs of life, hidden beneath the canopy. The emptiness was not of people, but of understanding. The Amazon civilizations adapted so seamlessly to their environment that their mark blended with the forest itself. Unlike stone cities of the desert, theirs were made to breathe and to grow. Where deserts preserve monuments, the rainforest devours them. In a sense, this is why the myth of emptiness persisted so long. By the time scholars arrived centuries later, the forest had erased the visible signs of human life, cloaking the evidence beneath living green. But absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. Today, archaeologists trace networks of earthworks that once held thousands of people. They uncover tools, shards of pottery, and signs of fields that fed entire communities. The forest itself offers clues. Patches of fertile black soil, known as Terra Preta, dot the Amazon. These soils are human-made, enriched by charcoal, bone, and organic matter. They remain fertile even today, centuries after their creation, proof of intentional agriculture. The very existence of Terra Preta contradicts the myth. It shows that ancient Amazonians did not merely survive on the forest's terms. They reshaped it, creating sustainable systems that supported dense populations for generations. And so, what once was thought empty reveals itself as full of memory, full of ingenuity, full of voices lost to time. The forest is not untouched wilderness, but a palimpsest, a manuscript rewritten again and again by human hands. This understanding changes more than history. It reshapes how we see the relationship between people and nature. The Amazon was not conquered. It was collaborated with. Its people worked with soil, water, and forest to create balance. The myth of emptiness also shaped modern policy. For years, outsiders treated the forest as free land, open to exploitation, because they believed no great societies had ever called it home. Now, as evidence accumulates, that perspective begins to shift. The truth is humbling. What outsiders dismissed as wilderness was, in fact, a garden. Not the neat rows of European fields, but a vast living mosaic of cultivated plants, orchards, and managed forests, subtle, complex, and enduring. To see the Amazon as empty is to miss its greatest lesson, that human achievement can look different from towering walls or shining palaces. Sometimes it looks like harmony, like cultivation woven invisibly into the landscape, thriving without leaving scars. A world once thought empty is, at last, being recognized for what it was. A world full of life, intelligence, and memory. The forest is not silent, it is speaking. And slowly, as the veil lifts, we are learning to listen. Beneath the towering trees and tangled roots of the Amazon, the soil carries secrets. To the untrained eye, it looks ordinary, dark, damp, scattered with fallen leaves, but within it lie whispers of forgotten lives, quiet traces left by hands that shaped the forest centuries ago. Archaeologists first noticed subtle patterns, ditches that curved in deliberate arcs, mounds that stretched with precise symmetry, and shapes so geometric they could not be natural. The soil was speaking, hinting at something larger than chance, something human. At first, these whispers were easy to dismiss. Jungle growth is overwhelming, erasing footprints within seasons. What were a few lines in the earth compared to the immensity of the forest? Yet the more scientists looked, the more patterns emerged. Consistent, intentional, undeniable. These earthworks formed circles, squares, and connected lines, designs too exact for coincidence. They hinted at gathering places, ceremonial grounds, or perhaps foundations of villages. The soil became a map, etched with stories of communities that once thrived beneath the canopy. Unlike stone ruins in deserts or mountains, These traces were fragile. Built of earth and wood, they surrendered quickly to the rainforest. Yet their memory lingered beneath the surface, preserved like faint echoes waiting to be rediscovered centuries later. One of the most striking discoveries was not structure, but soil itself. Terra Preta, the mysterious dark earth. Rich, fertile and man-made, it defied the natural limits of Amazonian ground. Where the forest soil was thin, Terra Preta remained vibrant for centuries. This black earth was no accident. It was engineered. Mixed with charcoal, bone and organic matter, it created lasting fertility. The people who lived here had mastered a kind of soil alchemy, transforming weakness into abundance, silence into sustenance. Where Terra Preta is found, evidence of life is near. Shards of pottery, tools, and signs of cultivation. These were not scattered camps, but centres of community, places where families lived, worked, and passed knowledge through generations. The whispers in the soil grew louder with every discovery. They told us of society skilled not only in survival, but in innovation. Their knowledge was subtle, blending seamlessly with nature, leaving no towering ruins, but a fertile foundation that still feeds crops today. Imagine fields of cassava and maize, orchards of fruit trees planted with care, and gardens enriched by black earth. The soil itself became a living legacy, a technology more enduring than stone monuments, sustained by hands that worked with the forest, not against it. To walk across these patches today is to step on layered history. Beneath your feet lie generations of effort, every handful of soil infused with memory. The forest grows thick, but the ground beneath remembers the people who once called it home. Even rivers whisper their part. Along their banks, traces of raised fields and canals appear, signs of water management sophisticated enough to withstand floods and nourish crops. The soil tells us this was no random survival. It was organised, resilient living. As archaeologists study these patterns, the narrative of the empty Amazon fades further. Instead, the soil speaks of abundance, of planning, of a relationship with the land far deeper than outsiders ever imagined. Consider the patience it took to create Terra Preta. Layer by layer, material was added year after year, building fertility that would outlast its makers. It was not a quick solution. It was a gift to future generations, a long memory planted into the ground. In this way, the soil becomes a storyteller. It recalls hands stirring ashes into earth, families tending gardens, elders passing down wisdom of balance and renewal. Every patch of black earth is a voice, whispering across centuries. These whispers are gentle, easily overlooked in the rush of modern eyes. But to those who pause and listen, they carry weight. They remind us that not all civilizations speak in stone. Some choose earth as their language, and fertility as their monument. What is most remarkable is endurance. Centuries after their makers vanished, Terra Preta still produces food. It still sustains. Few achievements of the ancient world remain as practical, as living, as this quiet technology beneath the canopy. The soil tells us of wisdom, of communities who understood cycles, who worked with fire not for destruction, but for growth. Their knowledge was not lost to them. It was absorbed into the land itself, waiting patiently for rediscovery. For modern researchers, every spade of earth reveals more than artifacts. It reveals mindset, a vision of harmony where human ingenuity enriches the environment rather than depleting it. The whispers of the soil are lessons as much as memories. As the forest reclaims roads and homes, it cannot erase what lies below. The soil holds on, quietly carrying the blueprint of civilization. Where others saw wilderness, the ground remembers gardens, fields, and lives deeply rooted in the Amazon. This memory is not silent. Each discovery adds to the chorus, reshapen history. The Amazon was not a void. It was a cradle, nurtured by people who understood the delicate balance of nature better than many today. The whispers also challenge us. They remind us that progress need not mean destruction, that civilization can leave a mark that enhances the earth rather than scars it. The soil holds a mirror, showing us what was possible long before our time. In every handful of Terra Preta lies a philosophy: to give back to the land, to build not just for the present, but for the generations that follow. These whispers are not only of the past, they are guidance for the future. Walking across the forest today, one might never guess at the hidden stories beneath. Yet the soil knows. It remembers footsteps, laughter, the rhythm of cultivation. It is both graveyard and garden, both history and hope. The whispers in the soil remind us that the Amazon is not only a natural wonder, it is also a human one. Beneath the canopy, history lives in earth itself, waiting for us to slow down, to listen, and to hear its quiet, enduring song. Among the most fascinating discoveries beneath the Amazon canopy is the story of its people, builders of fertile black earth, caretakers of a living technology known as Terra Preta. These were not nameless wanderers, but societies with vision, shaping the forest to sustain life for centuries. Terra Preta was no accident of nature. It was created by human hands, with knowledge passed down carefully. Charcoal, bones, food scraps, and organic matter were layered into the soil, transforming fragile ground into something rich, enduring, and alive. The people who made this soil understood patience. Building fertility was not a task of days, but of generations. Each contribution of ash or compost was an act of faith, that the land would grow stronger, that their children and grandchildren would eat well. Archaeologists now believe tens of millions once lived in the Amazon before European contact. Communities thrived in places once thought impossible, thanks in part to this engineered soil. It was their foundation, their invisible architecture of survival. Imagine villages linked by waterways and paths, each surrounded by gardens rich with cassava, maize, fruits, and medicinal plants. Families worked the soil together, their lives interwoven with cycles of planting, harvest, and renewal. The people of Terra Preta were not separate from the forest. They lived in harmony with it. Trees provided shade and fruit. Rivers offered fish and passage. And the soil, enriched by their care, gave back abundance year after year. Unlike civilizations that carved mountains or built stone pyramids, their monuments were subtle. Their greatest legacy was not in towering ruins, but in fertile ground. Soil so powerful, it remains productive even today, centuries after they disappeared. This black earth was more than a tool. It was knowledge made visible, a sign of wisdom carried through generations. Every patch of Terra Preta is a fingerprint of human intention, a reminder that the forest was once a carefully tended garden. Life in these communities was vibrant. Pottery fragments, tools, and ornaments uncovered in the soil reveal artistry, trade, and social life. The people of Terra Preta were not only farmers, they were creators, thinkers, and builders of culture. The sheer spread of Terra Preta across the Amazon suggests vast networks. These were not isolated villages. They were connected, sharing techniques and traditions, passing seeds and stories along rivers that served as highways through the forest. Even in their daily routines, they demonstrated resilience. They managed floods, balanced seasons, and understood the delicate rhythm of growth. Their ability to endure was rooted not in dominance over nature, but in partnership with it. What makes their achievement extraordinary is its invisibility. Centuries later, outsiders dismissed the forest as untouched, yet every patch of Terra Preta whispered otherwise, proof that people had shaped this land with quiet genius. The people of Terra Preta were pioneers of sustainability. They left no scars of deforestation, no deserts in their wake. Instead, they enhanced the environment, creating systems that fed both humans and the forest itself. When we hold a handful of this soil today, we hold history. Its fertility endures, a living connection to those who once cared for it. It is a reminder that civilization can live lightly, leaving gifts rather than ruins. Though their names are lost, their work remains. Terra Preta is their legacy, still teaching us, still feeding crops. It is as if they planted wisdom into the very earth, waiting patiently for us to rediscover it. Their story also reframes our own. What if progress does not mean towering monuments or endless conquest? What if progress means creating abundance that lasts beyond our time, woven so seamlessly into nature that it is mistaken for wilderness? This way of life challenges modern assumptions. While industrial societies deplete soils within decades, the people of Terra Preta enriched theirs for centuries. Their silent achievement humbles us, reminding us of balance lost and still possible. Evidence suggests they cultivated not only fields, but entire forests. Groves of edible trees, patches of medicinal plants, and orchards blended into the canopy, creating what some researchers call a domesticated rainforest. In this vision, the forest was not untouched, but carefully curated. Every path, every grove, every fertile patch of soil spoke of human design, subtle yet enduring. The Amazon was their canvas, and Terra Preta was the brush. Daily life must have been filled with rhythm. Planting, fishing, gathering, storytelling by firelight. Children grew up learning the secrets of the soil, absorbing wisdom as naturally as they learned to walk or paddle a canoe. Their resilience allowed them to thrive for centuries. Communities rose and fell, but the soil endured, a constant companion to their lives. Even as history shifted, Terra Preta remained, silently nourishing the next generation. When Europeans arrived, much of this world collapsed. Disease swept through communities, and the forests reclaimed their villages. Yet the soil could not be erased. Beneath the canopy, the people of Terra Preta remain present, remembered in earth itself. Today, as we rediscover their knowledge, we see not only history, but possibility. If they could sustain millions in balance with the forest, what lessons lie here for us now, in a world struggling with soil loss and climate change? The people of Terra Preta teach us that civilization can grow without destroying. That abundance can be created by working with nature's rhythms, not against them. Their legacy is not silent. It is speaking through every fertile patch of earth. And so, the people of Terra Preta are not lost. They are here, in the soil that still breathes with life, in the seeds that still sprout in black earth, in the lessons we are only beginning to understand. The forest remembers them. and through its whispers, so can we. When we think of cities, we imagine stone, steel, and towering walls. But in the Amazon, cities once blossomed in green. They rose not in sharp angles of concrete, but in patterns of earth, water, and forest. Vast settlements hidden beneath the canopy, alive with people and stories. Archaeologists now believe that what looked like scattered villages were in fact parts of sprawling networks. Roads stretched for miles, linking communities together. Rivers doubled as highways, carrying trade and conversation through the endless maze of trees. Imagine walking through one of these cities, paths lined with palms, gardens filled with fruits and medicinal plants, homes built of wood and thatch that blended seamlessly into the forest. No sharp divide between urban and natural, only harmony. These cities were not carved out by destroying the forest, but by weaving into it. Clearings were made with care, balanced with orchards and managed groves. The line between wilderness and settlement blurred until the city itself became part of the forest. Researchers using laser scanning from the air, technology known as LIDAR, have revealed vast geometric patterns hidden under the trees. Grids, circles, and plazas appear where the forest seemed unbroken, proving that entire urban landscapes once thrived here. Some of these settlements held thousands of people, organized into neighborhoods, ceremonial spaces, and farmland. Their scale rivals the great cities of other ancient civilizations, though their design was uniquely adapted to rainforest life. Instead of stone fortresses, they built with soil, wood, and vegetation. Their roads were wide and straight, sometimes stretching for dozens of kilometers, connecting one community to another like threads in a vast green web. At the heart of many settlements were plazas, open spaces where people gathered, traded, and celebrated. These plazas, now overgrown, once echoed with voices, laughter, and rituals beneath the watchful canopy. Unlike the rigid walls of empires elsewhere, these cities breathed with the forest. They were porous, alive, open to the rhythms of nature. Trees grew alongside homes, rivers cut through neighborhoods, and animals moved freely within. The ingenuity of these designs reveals a different vision of urban life. Cities here were not built to dominate the land, but to collaborate with it. The forest was not the enemy to be conquered. It was the partner in survival and growth. These urban landscapes suggest planning on a remarkable scale. Roads aligned with celestial points, water channels managed floods, and agricultural fields surrounded each hub. The balance of design and function was both practical and deeply symbolic. Trade was likely vibrant. Goods such as pottery, tools, and crafted ornaments moved along rivers and roads. The Amazon itself, with its countless waterways, served as a vast circulatory system connecting city to city, culture to culture. Life in these green cities must have been rich and layered. Families tended gardens, artisans shaped clay into beauty, healers gathered plants, and leaders organized rituals in plazas lit by firelight. Every detail of life flowed with the forest's rhythm. Archaeological digs reveal fragments, ceramics painted with intricate designs, ornaments shaped with care, tools worn smooth by use. Each piece is a voice from the past, whispering of people who lived not in isolation, but in thriving, complex societies. Even the layout of roads and plazas suggests hierarchy and cooperation. These were not random clusters of homes, but organized cities with shared purpose. They reflect leadership, community, and a deep connection to land and sky. At night, these settlements must have glowed softly with fire. The sounds of drums, voices, and laughter rose into the canopy, carried by the rivers. What is silence to us now was once a living chorus of human life. The forest, ever patient, has reclaimed these cities. Vines cover plazas, roots weave through ancient ditches, and branches stretch over forgotten roads. Yet beneath this cover, the shapes remain, preserved like faint echoes in the soil. LiDAR imaging has transformed our understanding. Where explorers once saw wilderness, we now see order and design. The green veil hid not emptiness, but complexity, urban centres interwoven with the rainforest. This revelation changes everything. The Amazon was not only home to small groups, it held cities alive with thousands, connected across hundreds of kilometres. A civilization in green, hidden until now. It also challenges our idea of what cities can be. The people of the Amazon showed that urban life does not have to erase nature. Their cities prove that growth and ecology can exist in harmony, creating balance rather than conflict. Walking through these spaces today, one might see only trees, but beneath your feet lies the outline of plazas, the curve of roads, the memory of homes. The forest is both city and sanctuary, both eraser and preserver of time. The scale of these cities also speaks to imagination. To plan, to connect, to build with such vision required collaboration, shared purpose, and belief in a collective future. The canopy did not stifle them, it inspired them. The discovery of these green cities is not only about the past, it reminds us that there are other ways to live, ways that respect both community and environment. Their wisdom still lingers, waiting for us to learn again. What remains today are not ruins of stone, but traces in earth and memory. The forest has covered the plazas, softened the roads, hidden the homes. Yet the people remain present, their legacy etched into soil, sky, and river. The cities in the green remind us that civilization wears many forms. Some rise in stone, others in steel. But here they rose in harmony with the forest. Though hidden, they are not lost. Their whispers still flow with the rivers, still drift with the canopy's breath. Every civilization leaves behind traces of its wisdom. In the Amazon, these traces are quiet, subtle, almost hidden. They are not carved in towering stones or etched in written scripts. Instead, they linger as echoes, in soil, in rivers, and in the faint outlines of forgotten roads. The people of the Amazon understood their world in ways we are only beginning to grasp. Their knowledge was not stored in libraries, but embedded in the land itself. A living record of how to thrive in one of Earth's most complex environments. Astronomy guided their lives. Many earthworks align with celestial patterns, circles and ditches pointing towards solstices, plazas oriented to stars. These alignments reveal a people who measured time not by clocks, but by the sky above the canopy. Their roads were more than paths. Some stretched straight for kilometres, cutting through dense forest with precision. They may have served as ceremonial avenues, trade routes, or lines connecting sacred places. Each one whispers of planning and purpose. Water, too, carried wisdom. Canals and ditches discovered beneath the forest show skill in managing floods, guiding fish, and nourishing crops. In a land where water is both life and danger, their engineering reflects remarkable adaptation. The Black Earth, or Terra Preta, is perhaps their greatest legacy of knowledge. It was not simply farming soil, it was environmental technology. Centuries later, it remains fertile, proving the depth of their understanding of cycles and renewal. This mastery extended beyond agriculture. Forests were carefully curated, filled with edible plants, medicinal herbs, and useful trees. What looked like wild jungle was in fact a designed landscape, an ancient living pharmacy. These choices were not random. Generations of observation taught them which plants thrived together, which soils produce balance, and which trees sheltered food crops. Their knowledge was precise, woven into daily life. Even their pottery carries echoes of wisdom. Fragments uncovered from the soil show intricate designs, symbols of meaning and artistry. These vessels were not just practical, they held food, water, and stories of identity. What we call lost knowledge is not gone. It is hidden in fragments, in patterns, in whispers. Each discovery adds to a mosaic, slowly revealing a civilization that lived in tune with the forest, leaving lessons instead of ruins. The echoes also reach into the spiritual. Many earthworks suggest ceremonial purpose, aligned with stars, rivers, and the cycles of life. Rituals likely connected people to the land and sky, reminding them of their place in a vast, living universe. This worldview differs from the idea of conquering nature. Instead, it reflects reverence. The forest was not an obstacle, it was sacred, alive, and filled with meaning. Knowledge here was not domination, but relationship. Consider the patience required to build fertile soil over centuries, to cultivate forests with care, to align roads with stars. Such acts required more than survival. They required vision, memory, and a culture deeply rooted in continuity. Even music may have carried echoes of their wisdom. Drums, flutes, and chants would have filled plazas, binding communities together. Sound, like soil, can carry knowledge, ritual rhythms passed across generations. The echoes extend into rivers. Ancient fishing techniques used weirs, barriers, and channels to guide fish. These methods sustained communities without emptying streams, showing an ethic of balance still admired today. We often think of lost civilizations as vanished completely. But here, the knowledge never disappeared. It transformed. Some traditions still survive in indigenous communities who carry fragments of this wisdom in daily life. Modern science is only now catching up. Researchers study Terra Preta to inspire sustainable farming, study forest curation to understand biodiversity, and examine waterways for lessons in flood control. Ancient wisdom is guiding modern solutions. The echoes remind us that progress is not always linear. Sometimes the greatest innovations are forgotten, waiting to be rediscovered when the world is ready to listen again. These ancient Amazonians may not have left grand monuments, but their achievements endure in another way. Their knowledge lives on in fertile soil, in curated forests, and in the resilience of communities that survived collapse. Their silence is deceptive. To see nothing but forest is to miss the chorus of voices hidden beneath. The echoes rise in fragments, pottery, soil, roads, pieces of a language that once spoke fluently across the canopy. What makes these echoes powerful is their humility. Knowledge here was not used to dominate the world, but to live in harmony with it. The forest was teacher, partner, and home. We hear the echoes not just in science, but in philosophy. They remind us that human intelligence can build without destruction, create without erasure, and sustain without exhaustion. The tragedy is that so much was silenced. Disease and conquest swept away voices, and forests reclaimed plazas. Yet even silence cannot erase wisdom written into earth and river. As researchers uncover more, the echoes grow clearer. They are fragments, yes, but together they form a song, one of ingenuity, resilience, and deep respect for the living world. The echoes of lost knowledge remind us that the past is not gone. It lingers, patient, woven into the soil, the stars, and the rivers. And if we choose to listen, these whispers may guide us toward a gentler future. Every civilization has a rise and eventually a fall. For the ancient peoples of the Amazon, the collapse was not marked by crumbling towers or broken palaces. Instead, it was a quiet unraveling, a fading of voices, and a silence that crept gently across the forest. At their height, these societies were vibrant, thriving with trade, ceremony, and innovation. But within a few short centuries, they diminished, their great networks fading until only scattered traces remained. The forest, patient as always, closed in around them. What caused this silence? For years, scholars debated. Some believed the forest itself forced collapse, too fragile to support cities. But the soil tells another story. These people had learned to live in balance. Their downfall came from elsewhere. When Europeans arrived in the 16th century, they brought more than curiosity. They carried diseases unfamiliar to the Amazon, illnesses against which indigenous communities had no defense. Smallpox, measles, and influenza spread with devastating speed. Whole villages were struck down within weeks. Populations that had flourished for generations vanished, leaving roads untrodden, plazas empty, and gardens untended. The silence of collapse was not only physical, it was cultural, spiritual, and human. The impact was profound. A civilization capable of sustaining millions was reduced to fragments. Survivors retreated deeper into the forest, their knowledge preserved in stories, their way of life transformed into resilience rather than expansion. This sudden emptiness reinforced the myth of a wilderness untouched. When later explorers entered, they saw only scattered groups, not realizing that they were walking through the graves of once flourishing cities. The silence was deceptive. It seemed as if nothing had been there, when in truth, the silence was a mask over loss. Beneath vines and roots, the earth still remembered, even if human voices had fallen quiet. The collapse was not the failure of a people, but the consequence of contact with a world beyond their own. Disease was an invisible conqueror, erasing centuries of growth in mere decades. Imagine plazas once alive with laughter, now overtaken by vines. Fires that had glowed in the night snuffed out, their embers replaced by the hum of cicadas. Silence fell like a curtain, and the forest reclaimed its stage. For the forest, this was not tragedy, but continuity. Trees grew tall again, animals returned to clearings, and the canopy closed over what had been. But for humanity, it was the quiet vanishing of knowledge, memory, and heritage. The silence of collapse carries a weight that is difficult to describe. It is not the violent ruin of war, but the soft, relentless fading of presence. Life drains away, and in its place only the forest breath remains. Yet silence does not mean erasure. The soil still held Terra Preta. Roads, though hidden, remained etched in earth. Pottery and tools lay waiting beneath the ground. The forest preserved what the world thought lost. This silence also protected. In its embrace, fragments of civilization were shielded from destruction, lying dormant until technology and patience could reveal them again. The collapse was both an ending and a kind of preservation. For the descendants of these people, the collapse did not mean extinction. Their traditions, languages and resilience carried forward, though changed. Echoes of ancient practices survive in indigenous communities today, connecting past and present. The silence challenges us to listen more carefully. What appears empty may in truth be full of memory. What seems erased may only be hidden, waiting for recognition. We often imagine collapse as complete, as if a civilization vanishes without trace. But here, collapse meant transformation. It meant survival in smaller forms, survival through adaptation, and survival in the soil itself. The tragedy lies not only in the loss of life, but in the silencing of voices. Songs, stories, and wisdom vanished faster than they could be passed on. Entire libraries of oral tradition disappeared with each generation lost to disease. Still, the forest remembers. Every curve of an ancient ditch, every patch of dark earth, every forgotten road is a fragment of testimony. The silence is not absence. It is a whisper, waiting for those willing to hear. The collapse reshaped the Amazon. Once managed landscapes reverted to wildness. Fruit trees planted in orchards grew scattered. Rivers no longer guided by canals flowed as they pleased. The garden became wilderness once more. This transformation misled outsiders. They believed the forest was untouched, eternal. In truth, they were seeing the aftermath of collapse, mistaking silence for natural order. The silence holds lessons for us. It warns how fragile human life can be in the face of unseen forces. It also reminds us how deeply humans can shape the land and how quickly that presence can fade. Even as we uncover evidence today, we must respect the silence. These were lives lived, families lost, worlds transformed. Their memory deserves gentleness, not just analysis. The silence of collapse is not final. Through archaeology, through indigenous memory, through soil and forest, voices are returning. They speak again, softly but clearly, reminding us of resilience, wisdom, and loss. And so, the silence is both ending and beginning. It marks the vanishing of a great civilization, yet it also shelters the possibility of rediscovery. The forest fell quiet, but its memory endures, carried in roots, rivers, and soil, waiting for us to listen. The Amazon is more than trees, rivers, and wildlife. It is a living memory, a vast archive written not on paper or stone, but in roots, soils, and the gentle rhythm of life. To walk through the forest is to wander through history, even if that history is hidden from view. Every tree carries time in its rings, every root holds the shape of old clearings, and every bend of a river remembers the touch of human hands that once guided its course. The forest is not silent, it is remembering. When ancient cities faded, the forest did not erase them, it embraced them. Vines curled over plazas, branches stretched across roads, and moss softened the walls of earthen mounds. What we see as wilderness is also a kind of memory palace. The canopy became a guardian, protecting what lay below. Instead of ruins crumbling in the sun, the forest tucked them away beneath shade and soil, preserving them like secrets too fragile to face open air. In this way, the Amazon became both destroyer and preserver. It consumed what was left behind, but it also kept it safe. The forest chose silence, not erasure, keeping memory hidden until we learned how to look again. Think of the fruit trees that still grow wild today. Many were once planted intentionally by ancient hands, part of gardens and orchards. Their presence in unexpected places is the forest's quiet way of recalling where people once lived. The same is true of rivers. Canals and channels dug centuries ago now appear as natural bends. yet their curves reveal human design, a memory etched in water, flowing softly across time. Even the soil remembers. Terra Preta, the black earth, stands as living testimony. It is fertile long after its makers are gone, holding within it both sustenance and story. Each patch is the forest's way of saying, they were here. Walking beneath the canopy, we feel this memory without realizing it. The hush of the trees, the persistence of green, the layered ground beneath our feet, all are shaped by centuries of coexistence between humans and forest. The forest also remembers through sound. The call of birds, the croak of frogs, the hum of insects all echo across places where voices once filled the night. What was once song and laughter is now replaced, yet not forgotten, by the music of nature. In its vastness, the forest teaches humility. It reminds us that even great civilizations can be hidden, their voices softened into whispers. The memory remains, but it is the forest that decides how much it reveals. Some memories are vivid, like earthworks visible from above. Others are faint, like pottery shards in the soil. Together, they form a tapestry of remembrance, woven carefully into the forest fabric. The forest does not tell stories quickly. It speaks slowly, in fragments, in patience. Its memory unfolds only for those who listen with care, who know how to see beyond vines and shadows. For Indigenous peoples, the forest has always been memory. Stories passed down through generations speak of ancestors, spirits, and sacred places. These oral traditions mirror the forest's own whispers, keeping alive what outsiders once forgot. When outsiders claimed the Amazon was empty, they mistook memory for silence. They did not realize the forest was holding its history close, hidden but not gone, waiting for respect before it would reveal itself. Even now, as technology reveals lost cities, the forest continues to hold more than we can imagine. Every scan, every excavation uncovers only a fraction of the stories rooted beneath the canopy. The forest remembers resilience. It recalls how people endured floods, nurtured soil, and built communities. It remembers collapse too, the silence of disease, the fading of rituals. All of it is stored within its endless layers. This memory is not static. It breathes, grows, and changes. Trees fall, rivers shift, and yet the essence remains. The forest is a living archive, rewriting but never forgetting. Sometimes memory emerges unexpectedly, a mound revealed by erosion, a shard found by chance, a tree growing where a home once stood. These are the forest's reminders, nudges from the past to the present. The memory of the forest is also a mirror for us. It shows that human presence can vanish quickly and yet still leave traces that last centuries. It reminds us of our impermanence and of the endurance of nature. But the forest's memory is not mournful. It is tender. It holds the past not as tragedy, but as continuity. The people who once thrived here are not gone. They are folded into the forest itself, part of its living soul. When the wind moves through the canopy, it feels like pages turning. Each rustle is a line of history, each sway a story. The forest speaks not in words, but in motion, carrying memory forward with every breath. The forest's memory also carries hope. If ancient people could create harmony here, perhaps their wisdom can return to guide us. The memory is not locked away. It is available if we choose to listen. And so, to walk in the Amazon is to walk in memory. Every step connects you to lives once lived, to knowledge once shared, to civilizations that the forest refuses to forget. The forest as a memory is more than history. It is a reminder that even when voices fade, when cities fall silent, the earth itself remembers. And in its gentle way, the forest whispers, carrying the past into the present, and the present into the future. For centuries, the Amazon guarded its secrets well. Trees grew thick, vines tangled every path, and the canopy acted as a shield against curious eyes. But now, with modern tools, we are peeling back this green veil, uncovering a story the forest has held close for generations. The most powerful of these tools is LIDAR, or light detection and ranging. From aircraft flying high above the canopy, invisible laser beams sweep across the forest, measuring distance and revealing the shapes hidden beneath the trees. To the human eye, the Amazon looks like a solid blanket of green, but LIDAR sees differently. It cuts through the leaves and branches, mapping the ground below. What emerges is astonishing. Grids, circles, and vast networks of roads where only wilderness seem to exist. Suddenly, plazas appear, large open spaces once filled with people. Straight roads stretch across kilometres, perfectly aligned. Earthworks form geometric patterns too precise to be natural. These are the hidden cities of the Amazon, rising again in light. Technology does not destroy the forest to find these secrets. Instead, it listens with light, uncovering stories without disturbing roots or soil. It is as if the forest itself is whispering, finally allowing us a glimpse of what it remembers. The images are breathtaking. Beneath dense jungle lie the remains of organized settlements, villages connected by causeways, ceremonial grounds, and agricultural landscapes shaped with precision. The scale rivals ancient cities across the world. What once seemed empty is revealed as full. The green veil hid not wilderness alone, but evidence of millions of people who lived, thrived, and built in balance with their environment. These discoveries confirm accounts once dismissed as myth. Early explorers described endless villages along riverbanks, plazas filled with people, and grand ceremonies. Now, through technology, their words are vindicated. LIDAR is not the only tool peeling back the green. Satellite imaging, soil analysis, and drone surveys all contribute. Each method adds another layer, another detail, slowly assembling the mosaic of Amazonian civilization. Even soil chemistry reveals secrets. Pockets of Terra Preta show where fields and gardens once flourished, their fertility a living clue. Patterns of nutrients trace the outlines of orchards and ancient farming practices. These technologies do more than confirm existence. They show scale. They reveal that Amazonian civilizations were not small or scattered. They were vast, interconnected, and sophisticated, stretching across hundreds of kilometers. The discoveries are changing the way history is written. For generations, textbooks described the Amazon as untouched. Now, with each scan and survey, that story is rewritten. The forest was never empty. It was a canvas of human life. What is most striking is how these cities blend with the forest. Unlike ruins of stone that dominate the land, Amazonian structures were absorbed into it. Technology allows us to see their outlines, but their design was always rooted in harmony. The precision of roads and earthworks suggests planning on a grand scale. Communities were not isolated. They were part of networks, united by trade, ritual, and shared knowledge. Technology helps us see the threads connecting them. Each discovery sparks wonder. A faint line on a LIDAR image may turn out to be a road once filled with footsteps. A circle in the earth may be the foundation of a gathering place, where music and ceremony once filled the air. Peeling back the green also reveals resilience. Even after centuries of abandonment, the outlines remain. The forest covered them, but it did not erase them. The past lingers, waiting patiently for recognition. These discoveries remind us that history is not always visible. Sometimes it lies hidden, waiting for the right light, the right angle, the right tools. Technology becomes a bridge, connecting our present curiosity to ancient memory. But even as we reveal these cities, the forest remains the star. It continues to protect, to conceal, to soften the edges of what was once vibrant human life. Without its shelter, much would have been lost forever. Technology shows us outlines, but imagination fills them in. We see grids and plazas, and we must picture the people, children running through clearings, families tending gardens, leaders guiding rituals beneath the canopy. What emerges is not just archaeology, but humanity. These were not nameless builders of earthworks. They were communities with dreams, struggles, and joy. Technology helps us see their traces, but their spirit remains alive in the land. Every scan of the forest adds to a growing map. Slowly, the Amazon is revealing itself not as a void, but as one of the great centers of human civilization. The green veil is lifting, piece by piece. The story is still unfolding. Each year, new surveys uncover more, expanding our understanding of scale and complexity. What seemed unimaginable decades ago is now undeniable. The Amazon was home to cities, vast and thriving. Yet technology also humbles us. For all we see, we know it is only a fraction. The forest still guards countless secrets, waiting for future eyes and tools to uncover them. Peeling back the green is not about conquering the forest. It is about listening with respect, letting technology reveal gently what the canopy has chosen to conceal. It is discovery guided by patience and awe. And so, as light cuts through leaves and unveils ancient roads, we are reminded of a simple truth. The forest remembers everything. With technology, we are finally learning how to read its memory, how to see the cities in the green, and how to listen to their story once more. The story of the Amazon is not only about discovery, it is about perspective. For centuries, the forest was seen as empty, wild, incapable of sustaining civilization. But now, we know better. The truth is far richer, and it carries a gentle reminder for us all. Beneath the canopy lie traces of cities, fertile soils, and lives lived in balance. The forest is not untouched. It is touched everywhere by human memory. Each root and river whispers of people who learned how to live with the land, not against it. Their legacy is not in towering monuments, but in fertile earth, not in written texts, but in patterns of soil, roads, and orchards. It is a reminder that civilization is not always measured by stone or steel, but by harmony. The Amazon teaches us that greatness can be quiet. It can hide beneath vines, in orchards of forgotten fruit trees, in rivers guided long ago by human hands. Silence does not mean absence, it means patience, waiting for us to notice. This gentle reminder is more than history. It is a lesson. The people of the Amazon live sustainably for centuries, enriching their environment instead of exhausting it. Their wisdom still lingers, carried by the soil, ready to be heard. In their story, we see possibility. If they could sustain millions in the heart of the rainforest, perhaps we too can learn to live in balance, not by conquering the earth, but by listening to it. The canopy, once thought a veil, is also a mirror. It reflects back our assumptions, our blindness, and our potential. It asks us to look differently, to imagine new ways of building and belonging. Their collapse carries its own reminder. Fragility is part of humanity. Disease, disruption, and silence came swiftly. Yet even then, their knowledge endured, preserved in soil, in forest, in memory. Nothing is ever truly lost. The forest itself reminds us of resilience. It absorbs, adapts, and grows. It held their memory safe until we were ready to see it again. In its patience lies a quiet lesson for us too. Every discovery, each patch of Terra Preta, each road revealed by LiDAR, each shard of pottery, is more than evidence. It is a voice, returning after centuries of silence, reminding us to listen to the earth as carefully as we listen to history. The gentle reminder is this: civilizations need not scar the land to leave a legacy. They can blend with it, nurture it, and leave behind gifts instead of ruins. In a world that often rushes forward, this story urges us to slow down, to pause, to notice. Just as archaeologists uncover hidden patterns only with patience, so too must we approach our future with care. The forest speaks softly. Its reminders are not shouted in stone, but whispered in soil and water. To hear them, we must quiet our own noise and learn again the language of balance. The Amazon tells us that history is not always loud. Sometimes it grows quietly, like roots beneath the earth, unseen until we are willing to look closely. The gentle reminder is also hopeful. If ancient peoples could shape a sustainable world here, perhaps we too can build futures that last, not by domination, but by collaboration with the living earth. The memory of the Amazon is not locked in the past. It is alive in indigenous communities, in seeds still sprouting in black earth, in rivers that continue to flow along ancient channels. Each step we take into the forest is a step into memory, and each reminder we uncover is not only about what was lost, but about what can still be regained. The silence of collapse, the whispers of soil, the echoes of knowledge, all of these weave into one message: respect the earth, and it will remember you kindly. Civilizations do not always leave stone towers. Sometimes their gift is fertile ground, biodiversity, and harmony. These are monuments not to power, but to wisdom. The gentle reminder asks us to redefine greatness. Perhaps it is not measured in how high we build, but in how long what we build endures, how deeply it nourishes, and how softly it rests within nature. The forest is still teaching. As we study, as we learn, as we uncover, we are invited not only to admire the past, but to imagine our future with the same humility and care. Every rustling leaf, every winding river, every patch of black earth reminds us humanity is capable of harmony. It has been done before. It can be done again. This story is not only theirs, it is ours. The people of the Amazon are part of our shared human history. Their memory belongs to all of us, their wisdom offered freely through the soil. And so, as the canopy stretches overhead, we remember not only the mystery, but the message, not only the past, but the possibility it gives to the future. The gentle reminder is this: the earth remembers everything. If we listen closely, we may find guidance in its memory, hope in its patience, and inspiration in its whispers. The canopy holds the past, but also the promise of tomorrow.